Hey guys, thank you so much for joining this session. This is Swami. Let me share my screen. Here's my screen. So let me quickly come back to the meetup group. So this is a meetup group. Please stay tuned to get the updates on what all the new sessions which are coming in. And we'll see what is that we are going to discuss today. I thought of to do .NET 6, but straight away jumping to .NET 7. I just did this experiment last night and I was able to go through successfully. So I just thought that why don't I do it in directly in .NET 7. So that's what we are going to do. I'll come back to that in a minute. So if you see that, we are having this .NET 7 on AWS, and then next is AZ204 labs. So this will be 2 labs a month. All are free, and then we'll do a deep dive and hands-on on AZ204 certification preparation. So it takes a minimum 6 months of training before you appear. So we'll take slowly, but other events are coming, .NET 7 minimal API. So a lot of events are there. So please keep your watch on that. And this is what we are going to do it. And let me quickly walk you through the, and then, this is the .NET Learners House, the YouTube channel. So we have somewhere around 26 or 28 videos are there. And I just created 2 playlists. One playlist is for minimal API and one playlist is for .NET 6 and 7 on AWS. So, and also all the other videos are here, but please subscribe to this so that you will get notified. Even if you're unable to join the live session, you'll be able to watch. And I need to give you 2 more pieces of information. So let's quickly do that. So this is my Git repository. So let me do that. This is my Git repository. And in this series, if you see that speaker series, you'll see all the sessions which I do. I think from different communities or my community. Wherever I speak, I'll do a demo script and source code, everything I'll keep it here. Okay, so that's the introduction. So let's go and see what is it we are going to do it today. So I've given the date, the meetup URL, and the YouTube URL so that it will help others. Actually, it is .NET 7. I forgot to change that. I am still a learner, so apologize if I do any mistake. And what are we going to do? We'll do a quick recap. What did we learn in the previous session? And not spending more than 5 to 6 minutes because that's the context. Thanks, Rupesh Singh. And I really appreciate your kind words. So not spending more than 5 minutes because we have a lot of hands-on to do. So we'll Dockerize a static website, and then we'll use the AWS Console, and then we'll Dockerize a .NET 7 minimal API, and we'll use that custom image, whatever we created in the ECS on AWS Console. And actually, I thought of to do on Angular 15 also, but unfortunately, when I prepared this, that itself was too much. So I thought that this will not. I thought of to showcase this Angular 15 application, how to Dockerize and how to do it, but I'm parking it for the next episode because this will be, these 4 topics itself is too much of hands-on. So I'm parking it that Angular 15 SPA. That's a fantastic thing. I mean, it's integrated with a real API, and we'll enjoy a lot. And also we'll do something similar to microservice, like SQL Server and a minimal API or something, or an API and an Angular UI. I don't know what I'll be doing it, because until last moment, I'll be doing a lot of experiments. Like if you see that till yesterday 9 p.m. it was .NET 6. And after 9 p.m. I did one experiment on .NET 7 and it worked. So I converted the .NET 6 into .NET 7. So I don't know what experiments I'll be doing. So, but we'll get a good hands-on. Okay. That being said, let's quickly go and see. We'll cap it to 5 minutes, not more. If we come and see what did we do in this session one. In the session one, it was purely from, we spoke about the Docker, the 30,000 foot view of Docker, and we saw the Docker architecture, Docker daemon, client images, and containers, Docker hub registry. So today also we'll be heavily relying on registry, but these are my personal Docker hub registry, because I use Docker for my community service. I don't need to pay fees. But if you use it for real-time production, and there are rules of the game, when you will get it free, when you need to take the license. But I purely use Docker for my community service. So I use a free version. And I started using Docker somewhere around 8 years ago. That does not mean that I have a lot of knowledge on Docker, but I'm just telling it as an FYI that I used it, started using it since 2014, fourth quarter. I really liked it. So on and off, I use it. But since past 2 years, I'm using it quite frequently on this one. So let's see, we spoke about that, and we saw that how do we play with images and how do we create containers out of the images. And we saw the software bills of material, and we saw how to use it on our local machine. And the same thing is, we did it with one of my previous image, that was the Razor pages. And then we started discussing on ECS, and then we redid the same experiment. What did we do on NG console as well as Razor page app? You can see that it's coming from the elastic load balancer, and we saw that. So now in today's session, we will create our own images. In the previous session, we used the pre-created things. Now this session, we will create our own images and we will go ahead and work. So let's hit the road. So we know we have set the context. I did a quick recap in 3 minutes, and you have the source code. I marked it here. So please fasten your seatbelt and apologize if I do any mistake. So we did that. Now we'll Dockerize a static web app. So if you see that, I do have a static website which I already created last night, and the school API I did 12 hours ago. That means around 9 to 10, between 9 to 10, I did that. So first what we will do is we will delete these two images, which is already there. Okay, so that will help us to understand the internals. I'm deleting both the static website so that we'll recreate these two. If it is failing, it will fail live. But let's be positive that it will work. So I will close this. I'm deleting it. So I don't have those repositories right now. So these two are being deleted. And let's come back to my local machine. And let me select these. Okay, the static website and the school API. So these are the images which are on my local box. I'm deleting it forever. So right now I don't have those images on my local or on the Docker hub. Everything is gone. So now that's the first experiment. We will work with this static website. So let's see. Is there any queries? So no queries. That's cool. So let's see what is this static website, and then we will go ahead with that. So we need to discuss few other things. I will open up something. Docker file. This is the reference. We'll just learn just enough Docker file. So Docker file is just like a plain file without any extension. Okay, it will have the commands to create the Docker image. So we can start with an existing image and build on top of that. Okay, like if you see that these are just plain hello world, and there are parsers and other things which are there, escape characters they are given. And if you see that here, if you see from Microsoft Nano Server, this itself is an image. From that image, from our local file, we are copying this text into the C drive of this Nano Server and run DARC. So that means it will show the contents of the C drive. So when you build this, okay, and in the terminal you are executing the command, so you see that it's starting with this, and then it is copying the file from the current folder to the C drive inside this Microsoft Nano Server. And then the command is this one. So what is the command? The DAR C drive. So DAR C drive, and it shows the, oh, okay. It should technically show the results here. If you see that, it will show the drive of this one. So what is happening is we are taking the existing image and creating our own image on top of that. So that's what we will do it. So just keep this for a reference, like what this Docker file is. So let us see. I kept it under the folder called root. So it's not mandatory that we should use this folder. You can use any folder. So what is there inside this folder? A simple HTML file and a favicon, error.html, just I used it, and styles.css, just to style the header and all fancy colors I used. I'm a bad color chooser, sorry for that. But have this one method just to showcase a simple demo. And if you see the footer, the span year, so year will get dynamically like 20. Since 2020, I'm using the same template to showcase in different demos. So since 3 years, I'm using this one. So how do we check this? There are multiple ways to check it. One way is you can reveal and double click this. You can do this. And anything you modify, again, you need to come and do a refresh. And there's one good VS Code extension, which I really like it, is live server. So open with live server. The moment you click on that, it starts the live server. And you can see that here. Okay, that's the live server which has started. And you can see that that's being opened on the live server. The advantage is the main content is here. So if I just saved it. When you come back, you see the content is getting updated. So that's the advantage of having this live server. So I use it. That's coming as part of this extension. You can go here and search for live server. This one, live server. So you can see that it's 8-digit downloads and 428 feedbacks. It's pretty good. So you see that. It's very good extension. I particularly liked it. So I definitely use that. That being said, we know how to execute this static website. So it has got one JavaScript file, one CSS, two HTML files, and favicon. Okay, that's one thing. Now the next thing is, how do we Dockerize this? Okay, so I will close it. I can name it anything. We can name it like files or content or something. I named it as www. You see this. Now we're using the Nginx. Use an official Nginx image. We're using this Nginx image. And what we are telling is copy. So the copy is a command. We have seen that. What we are saying, copy. The context is very, very important. That means from which folder you are executing is very, very important, folks. So here the context is, I'm staying in the same folder where the www root is there. The static website is a folder. Just to be on a safer side, let's go here and let's do that. You can see that the Docker file and the www root, they both are on the same level, on the same footing. The parent for both is static website. That means I should be there in the static website when I'm executing this. So that's how the context is docked. So where I'm executing the command is in the static website folder. That means where I have the Docker file, I have the nginx conf, and I have the www folder. So I'm saying from the current folder, there is a folder called www root. Copy that folder into that HTML. So user share nginx HTML. Then I'm telling that copy this nginx.conf into etc nginx conf and expose 80. So here in this live server, we are using 5500, but here we are saying that expose 80, and we are starting this nginx. So that's the thing which it will build it. So what will happen when we initially execute this command? The two things. I just gave the reference of this one also in the source code. So this will give you the full-blown nginx right from the official documentation. So what all the things which you can include, the sample of that, everything is here. I mean, we can do a lot. So for my presentation, I'll learn just enough things so that I can make it work. So that being said, we'll come and we'll see that we have seen the Docker file. We will see the nginx conf. So nginx conf, two things is, if we don't add these location of styles, because generally some people, what they do, they put this CSS and scripts right in the www folder and push it to the HTML folder. So that way what happens is the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, everything lives in the same folder. So for us to add the styles as a separate folder, all the styles will be in that folder. Scripts will be in this scripts folder. So we need to add an additional location to go get it from that. So that way we will be able to recognize. Because just to avoid the time, you can comment these two blocks and try creating the image. You will not see that. You will see black and white kind of thing. Okay. That being said, let's come and let's start creating the Docker image of our own. And I've given instructions also. So let me switch between both. Where am I? Here. Right. So guys, at this point of time, we will be using Docker commands like this. In the next episode, what we will do is we will improvise on top of this, and we'll create the shell scripts. So shell scripts make it easy, not playing with not playing with all these commands individually. So we can put it in a script and then directly push it. Okay, so I'll show you one more tip. If you come and see in the Docker Hub, there are multiple ways in the Docker Hub registry. How do you tag each and every build of the image? So one is latest. So it will give another name and push it to latest. But apart from that, what if every new build you do it? There are multiple ways to do it. You can add the date timestamp or something like this. It generates a unique number. Different strategies are there. So one of the strategy which I learned it from Google is to use the GitHub's this one, git log, this format. So if I put this here, that gives this number. Okay, so what we will do is, let's come and try to do some small modification. What should I do? Add an hyphen and then come back and do a check-in. Sometimes this takes a little bit time. Okay, we did this commit. And now if I come and execute that command, it gave me a new tag. So every time we execute that git commit, it gives us a new number. So what we will do is we'll take this entire thing and we need to execute. The key thing is where you should be. You should be inside the static website folder. That is very, very important, folks. So let's come back quickly and check where are we right now. And I do source and static website. Right now I'm inside the static website. I'm all set to execute this set of commands. So I'm saying that because one thing is we are generating the version tag and the tag is latest. The repository is Vishipilor is my repository, my account here, identity, that's my identity. And another thing is we are logging, and Docker build -t is tagging the repository Vishipilor static website latest and Vishipilor static website : tag. So that means the unique number which it generates, right? So you can see that we have seen that example twice. It generates a unique tag, and then we do Docker push. So it pushes that. So let's see how it goes. So it might take a little bit time because this is the first time we are doing it. And for the next thing, which we can execute it a little faster because we are discussing, we have already discussed it. See this, it created this new tag. And as I'm already logged in this Docker, you can see that Vishipilor, I've already logged in. So it will have the existing credentials. So it will authenticate with the existing credentials, and login has been succeeded. So it is building this image. Now, if you come back and check that images, it is building, because you can see that now it is pulling the Nginx. We deleted the existing one. So it copied the www root into HTML, and it copied the conf, and then it is pushing it. So now if you see that locally we have the image, but when you come back to the registry, the Docker Hub registry, let's refresh. Technically, it should start pushing it by this time. Let's see whether it pushed it or not. It might take a minute or two, not much. we'll see what's happening here. So see that it is pushing layer by layer because this is the layered. So it's pushing this library of this Nginx, and these are each and every GUID is this one. So you can see that the latest has been pushed. Now the tag has to be pushed. So we have two tags. One is the unique commit number and one is latest. Latest, it has pushed it. See that? And with the tag, version tag, it is pushing right now. So you can see that those layers which are already exist, you can see that ID, layers ID, it says that already exists. This one was pretty fast, but this one, it took a lot of time. So what happens is whenever the layers are there, it will reuse that. And whenever something new has to be pushed, it will push it. So you can see that one is with the latest and one is with the commit. If we don't do any change, then we can use, it will give the same ID. The tag will not change. The only thing is the latest number will change. And now, how do we pull this locally? Okay, how do we pull this locally? The pull command they have already given. So now what I will do is just select the latest one. Now you can see that that image is made up of 19 layers. And you can see that all the low and medium, there are no medium vulnerabilities, but it shows that there are few low vulnerabilities. One is in Debian, Shadow, and these things. Nothing from our simple HTML, JavaScript code. So it's tagging it as an issue. But this is like a SBOM. We call it as software bills of material. So you can see that what is that entry point? We're saying expose this, and what are the command which we executed, and see this is being copied. So you can see that 5.68 kilobytes, and this is copying the nginx conf. All is well. Now, how do we execute this locally? Because we tested this locally using the live server. You see that? Using live server, we tested it. Where is that? This is a live server. Let me close this so that I have to deal with less number of these things. And I'll close this one also, so that I don't need to deal with much of these things. These are the live server. Now I want to test this on my local machine. So one of the way to do is using this, or let's use the command which I have already given in the demo script. So this is the step which we have seen, and this is the command. Now what we are telling, we're telling Docker run in detached mode. RM means if I stop the container, delete the container. We don't want the containers to hanging around. And the name I'm giving static website 12th Feb, and port I'm telling on my host port on my laptop. If I go to 8009, it should route to 80 because the container port we are exposing is 80. You've seen that in the Docker file. And Vishy Pylor static website latest. So I'll come in here and go ahead and do a clear, because what was the port which we exposed? 80. So let me paste it. So I'm saying that inside the container port is 80. If on my laptop, if I go 8009, route it to 80 inside the container. And now I do execute this, boom. So it has given the container ID. Now if I do Docker PS, show me the running containers. You can see that AC 660, 660, 736, 736, 2122, 2122. Rest of the things it ignores, but even if I add these three, it should be good enough. So right now, when I come back to the container over here, you can see that static website, it's here. So let me go and click on this. So that means I'm going on localhost 8009. So when I'm going on 8009, it is internally routing. Let's see the logs. See that? If I go and search for something, no.html, html. Oh God, it's not giving that. I didn't configure that error page properly, but it's not showing it. But if I go and check this again, you can see that it routes, it brings in the scripts, and it shows this one. So let me do a quick refresh on this. Let me delete the existing logs, and I do a quick refresh on this one. So see that it goes to the route and it displays these logs. And another thing is, if I go to this terminal and I do a ls, it is here. Now let's come back to the Docker file. Here we said that user share nginx and html. User share. See that we have our HTML file. Same HTML file, what we have it here, that's been pushed. So right now we are inside the container. So right now we are inside the container. So we saw that how the container works, and we saw how to go and verify what is there inside the container. Now I'll show you one thing. Now if I stop this, immediately it removed the container. Now the container is not hanging in a stopped state. So that's the reason we use this -r. So if you see that, Docker run help. We used a couple of things, D for detached, and -rm. Docker run a container. -rm automatically remove the container. That's the one. So when you stop it, it automatically removes. So we have seen that. So we've seen what is the static HTML, how do we containerize, and how do you bring it and push it to the hub, a repository, maybe the Docker hub. In future, we will use the AWS ECR, Elastic Container Registry. So right now we used Docker hub. Eventually, we are going to use the AWS ECR and pull this image from our repository and use it locally. Now it is the time for us to play in this one. So let me open up this container service and also the cloud formation. I'll open this cloud formation. Okay, as I spoke, if you have the new experience, then you'll not have that getting started option here. Okay, so you'll not have that option. So we need to switch off to that experience with this old experience and click on that getting started. In that, we are configuring the custom image. And what is this custom image? The custom image is It's coming from our repository, Wishipilor. So the custom image is this one, colon latest. Let's call this 12th web. Okay? And the soft limit, I'm leaving it. And the container, we mapped it port 80 inside that. And click on update. So we have given the container definition. You can see that the first definition we have given, container definition. Now we need to give the task definition. And inside the task, I'm telling that static website 12th web. Okay. And let's leave everything as it is. Now, if I do next, you can see that we have given what should be the container, what should be the task. And we are saying that we need application load balancer and click on next. And here I'm calling 12th Feb cluster and click on that. Now you have container definition and then you have a task definition. Then you have the service. So service means how many replicas or how many instances or how many tasks it should run. Okay, task definition is nothing but a container. How many tasks it should run means how many instances of this container is what taken care by service. And the cluster is where you logically group this. And now I click on this and let's come back to this here. This is what it is started, creation in progress. You can see that output, resources, and events. What are the events which it is doing? So it already created the VPC. And you can come to this resources. It shows that what resources it is creating. So it takes time, a little bit of this time. Let's Thanks, Rupesh. 42. Okay, just 2 minutes. Okay, cool. Thanks, Rupesh. For some reason, it muted me. So if you see that, okay, this is complete. So we'll come back to this one and let's do the refresh. So it took some time. We can see here in the cloud formation also, inside the stacks, you see the stack has been completed. And if you come in here, you see everything is well, all are green. So here you can see that you have the task definition, you have the cluster name, and we have the service. So if I come back, to the here, it shows that one task is running and one service is active. So if I come in here, I can see that the task is running. And ECS instance, because this is being taken care by Fargate. So if I click on this services, you can see that has been hooked up with the load balancer. In the previous episode, we have already seen that we can go to the independent task and get the public IP of that. But here, we already have the load balancer. Let me go to that load balancer. Okay. This is a load balancer. Okay. And here are the targets, because we have only one machine, and health check and other informations are there. But if I go in here, you can see the load balancer is here, and I'll go to the load balancer, and when I go to the load balancer, it will give me the FQDN, the DNS name. So copy the DNS name. I'll come and I'll paste it here. You see that? So now let's compare. We verified the static website from the live server on our local machine. Then we containerized. We pushed it to the Docker Hub. We bought it and we tested that locally. And then we created the ECS Fargate Elastic Container Service in AWS. And we are able to access it using the Elastic Load Balance. So the same site, we used it on our local machine, we Dockerized, we pushed it to the Docker Hub, we bought it again, and we verified it that our Docker image works on our local machine, and we used the same Docker image on AWS. Now this, as mentioned in a lot of documentation and a lot of different places, like if you have an image, if it works on your machine, it works everywhere. We didn't need to do any change, isn't it? The same Docker image, which is working on my local Docker desktop, is working inside the AWS also. We didn't do any change. Same image works at multiple places. My operating system is Windows. There it is Linux. But here also the containers are Linux containers. But the thing is that image, it works everywhere. Cool. So that was our first experiment. So let me close all these things and quickly go to the second step. Now that we discussed a lot of fundamentals, I'll directly go and create the image. So for this, I'll close everything. Okay. So here I'll maximize this. Lord Krishna. And then exactly in this location. The next thing is we already seen this piece and we have a detailed explanation on that also. I'm copying it. Please ensure that everything should be lowercase. Now, let me copy it from here. Just be on a safer side. Copying here. Let me paste it and hit on enter. It will take a little bit of time because it has to download. But here we have to focus that we are giving the context. You're saying the dot is what the context. I told the context is very, very important. From which location it has to consider the path is very important. So the context we are saying is dot. That means within the services school, that was the folder name. So that's very, very important. The context, the dot is context. But the Docker file doesn't exist there. So we have to specify -f, go to the source, school API, and you'll find a Docker file. So the two important things is one is the Docker file and one is the context. So without which you will not be able to do that. Okay. It is exporting this and you can come in and see this here in the repository. We did download of the static website thrice. If anyone wants to try, they can try this. Periodically, because I'm the only guy, I will not know if it is getting muted. So because it's a little bit bigger in size, it's pushing in. Okay, all is well. I think now we have this image also. Let me go back to the repositories. And the school API is here. Okay, so now I'll quickly go here and execute another command so that we can test it locally. So it just created. Now if I go to localhost 8010, it brings in here. And if I go to API courses, it gives me 2 of the courses. Oh, yeah, because that's only in demo. But rest of the things I can test it because that's in a development mode. I'll show you what does that mean. See that? It gives me this because if you go and check here in the Docker file, the environment, if it is only in the development mode. But if I come in here, let's go to this inspect the environment variables. I think we'll check in the logs. See this, the hosting environment is production. So that is the reason it will not populate the dummy data. Because when I execute it on my local machine, it will be in development mode. It will install the dummy data. But when we are executing it, when we create an image and when we execute, that is getting executed in the production mode. So we'll not have the dummy data. Apart from that, everything is okay. Now let's quickly come back here. And let's go to this cluster. And let's do a get start. Let's go to the school API. Let me grab this and quickly come back to this. I want to configure a custom image at latest. Let's use school API 12th Feb without space. And there also I've opened two ports, port 80 and also port 443. At this point of time, let's test with port 80. So here I will call this as school API. Rest everything I'm leaving as it is. And going on next. So we completed container definition, task definition, and we are getting the service. And I'm saying number of desired tasks. I want to execute 2 instances. Okay, I want to execute 2 instances instead of 1 because API we can expect extra load. And this one I'm calling it as create a new cluster. So we have given definition for everything and click on this. We can go back to CloudFormation. This should be the new stack, which it's getting. Ooh. Why? No problem. Let's back it off. Let me see that. Let me delete that. So 5 stacks. Okay, let me delete this one also. That also we experimented. It's also we put it for the deletion. Let me try. No, let me delete the stack. I don't need to return anything. Yeah, let it take its time. In the meanwhile, let's create a new cluster. Let's quickly go back. Copy the name. We'll do an automation of this instead of coming and clicking every time. Let's take this name and let's use port 80, update it, and let's do change its name, custom school API. It's using Fargate. Let's do next. And custom school API service, I want 2 instances to run. And let me switch on the load balancer. And this is we have given the definition for everything. Let's do a create. Let's see the cloud formation. I mean, if it's failing, we'll redo that in the next episode. But technically, we have seen there is no difference when the creation process. You execute something, whether it's a static or dynamic on your local, and then Dockerize, push it to some container registry, maybe Docker Hub or your private container registry or ECR or Azure Container Registry or any private registry on your local this thing, and then you can try. So one is creation in process. We put couple of things in this one, and the creation is in good progress as far as I see. It didn't throw anything on our face saying that, hey, I'm not able to do. I think that's a good sign. Let me check this again. Let's go back to container service. And this time we gave it. Yeah, this is our service. This is our service. The service is active. Let's wait until this gives us the control, because I parallelly selected the delete and creation operation. It might trouble us somewhere, I'm not sure, but let's wait for 5 minutes max to see. Sure, Rupesh, I will give you some of the resources for the microservices. Let's come back to this stack info. Ooh. I need to do an MFA now. I don't know why did it all of a sudden stopped. Oh, okay, that's cool. Reload the page. The cloud formation template is good. Ooh. So this is the one. You can refresh it here. The cloud formation template shows that everything is done. Here it says complete. Yep, it says complete. So maybe it takes a little bit time. No, it shouldn't. Let's do a full refresh. And I think we need to wait for some more time to. Yeah. See this, everything is completed. So let's go back and again come. It's this cluster, it's not that cluster. It is this cluster. It will show. It is somewhat stuck. We do have the task definition. Yeah, custom API. And that's active. And let's see the cluster. Wow. Sometimes it troubles. See, it clearly says that everything is good. See, this is a deletion in progress. Let me refresh this. And then the events. All the things should be completed. Yeah, maybe it's delaying it. I don't know. See, the stat status is completed. So that means technically we should see everything up and running. We should see everything up and running. Okay, never mind. We can do something differently also. So we can use Fargate from here. And the latest, the service name is, I'm giving dummy number of tasks. I'm saying that spin 2 tasks and rolling update. And I do next. But technically, we don't need to do this because it was not working. That is the reason I'm doing this, falling back on this. But technically, I don't need to do it at all. Because it was delaying. That is the reason we are doing this, but technically we don't need to do it generally, as we have seen that when we are doing in the verifying this static website, it should automatically spin everything. We don't need to touch at all. So here itself, it will directly come. Okay. So desired count is 2, pending count is 2. That means it didn't start the tasks. So that means it's pending. It will start slowly. So it is activating. Okay, let's give it time a little bit. And technically, we don't need to do this, guys, as we have seen in when we are spinning up the static website. When we give the service, it should automatically start. Now that both are running, let's come back to the service and go to that target group. And inside the target group, both are healthy. We come to the load balancer. And here we'll have this thing. I go root. So root is this. And if I say API slash sources, because it's loading the in-memory database, it might take a couple of seconds, but we got the same response as we got locally. We're getting the same here in this one. So if I API users, the same response we are getting here. What we are getting here. Same response. So with this, we'll conclude this episode. Okay. So Rupesh, I will collect few other